Hey, this is Notser, and we're in the Tier 10 Pan-Asian Destroyer, Yue Yang. This just became available to community contributors. This is my first battle in this ship, and I'm going to talk about everything that happened in it, and how did it feel, the choices I made. You can already see a choice that I've made in my loadout. I'm running with radar. Now, that particular slot, you have to decide between smoke and radar. Now, the smoke is not insignificant. It's basically the best smoke in the game, both in the amount of charges that it gives you, the time it disperses out, and the time it exists in the world. So it's a really tough choice, and honestly, if we see the rise of aircraft carriers once again, I'm probably going to go smoke. Because just like the Japanese destroyers with the torpedo reload booster, it's really easy to kill a target without smoke, especially a destroyer that doesn't have defensive fire, which this doesn't, and you cannot equip it. That speed boost will always be speed boost for every single Pan-Asian destroyer. The radar module, 7.5 kilometer effective range, 20 seconds duration, and it comes with 2 charges non-premium, 3 charges with a premium, and then 4 charges with superintendent, which is not half bad. But I don't have smoke, so whenever I detect a target, I'm probably going to fire my gun, and I'm probably going to be detected by everyone else. Yeah, sure, your teammates, you can rely on them to shoot it. In the perfect scenario. Not so in random. Not so at any real time, honestly. Sometimes you get a good player and a good teammate that wants to do that. Clearly, I don't have good teammates, just based on the chat. So, I moved forward a little bit too much. I was a little distracted by the comments that were being made. And I was like, okay, whatever. So we ran into the Yue Yang. And he's trying to pop a smoke. I'm trying to avoid. Thankfully, the island is blocking most of the enemy. And as long as the Yue Yang wants to push forward out of his smoke, I have no reason to use radar. And it seems like he wants to try and send his torpedoes. So this has Deepwater torpedoes, which only are effective against cruisers, battleships, and aircraft carriers. There is absolutely no reason to send torpedoes into smoke that contains only destroyers. And obviously, that's a massive deficiency. Clearly, any and all DDs should just punish the crap out of the Pan-Asian destroyers. They can't use their torpedoes. So, clearly, you can sit and smoke all day in front of these guys, and there's nothing they can do, except for radar. And that is critical, but it's a fairly short radar. Now, obviously, if you get access to the radar extension module, that super container, then it becomes pretty significant, you know, the same significant increase as the Moskva, for instance. But we do pretty good damage against the Yue Yang. Honestly, pretty good shot by that guy. I would say he is an above average player. I did not want to lose that kind of health. I am rocking a very generic commander. This commander is concealment, faster torpedo rearm, survivability expert, adrenaline rush, last stand, and preventative maintenance. It's about a 16 skill commander. Since they're all premium for this particular phase, when it goes live, they will not be premium. I can freely switch them. So that's why I chose those particular stats. I think those skills work very well on pretty much every destroyer. Except for the Soviets, I'm rocking this. This is basically my German, my Japanese, my American destroyer build, and I really like it. I think it's fantastic and no complaints. So, enemy went B. Clearly someone is sitting in smoke. I'm moving forward to get within that 7.5 kilometer range. I'm also radio located. And here we go. Enemy Neptune. Alright, Neptune. So I'm going to fire on it. The nice thing is he's sitting in his own smoke, blocking line of sight to see me as I'm firing. And you could consider that as an effective strategy. If no one else is in range, and the only target that exists is inside of smoke, well, he has to leave smoke to detect you as you're using radar. I could see that as a valid tactic for the Pan-Asian that has to sacrifice their smoke charges to put radar on the ship. It forces him out of his smoke. We're doing pretty good damage. I switched to AP when he goes broad, and I'm just looking to try and finish him off before he finishes off my friendly. The Zhao is overextended, and he has terrible torpedoes for this scenario. Friendlies are able to assist in the destruction of him. But did you notice that there was a Shimakaze on the left side? I took note of that on the minimap whenever I was looking down. Most of the time I was firing on the target, but other than that I was like, whoa, this Shima's right there. And here's another instance where I want my torpedoes to be effective against the destroyer. I don't have smoke, I can't hide. This is extremely dangerous. I have no idea where the other DD is. You saw the enemy Missouri that could potentially use radar to detect me. There's also 2 battleships. I don't know where they're going. Extremely dangerous and honestly a mistake. And I was setting up a torpedo strike and oh, what the? Shima comes directly into it and he has a huge health advantage at this point. But I've got gearing guns and gearing guns are pretty damn good at killing enemy DDs. I think he's sending torpedoes. I don't know why he's not firing his gun. Finally, he fires his gun. Like I'm going to let the Japanese destroyer torpedoes hit me. Come on. Come on. Not an amateur. So we're going to just gun this guy down. He's done pretty good damage now that his guns are firing. And you can see the DD in there. I noticed that the enemy Yamato is pushing forward. My 1 torpedo launcher was knocked out. I repair to get it back so I can send another set. And I'm trying to get the hell out of here. Since I don't have smoke, I can't rely on that. I have to rely on concealment. The Yue Yang thinks he's cheeky, but you know what? You're dead. And I'm happy you're dead. In the video game, of course. So we're going to disconnect, disengage, come back, but I do want to see these Deepwater torpedoes and how they act. Now, Yamato has decided to pull back. Looks like I'm only going to clip him with 1, maybe 2. Yeah, only 1. It is on the nose, though. No torpedo protection there. Causes a flood. Going to force out damage control. But this Missouri, I thought he was going to pass by completely safely, but he slows down. And he's dead. He is gone. Now, I have no idea how the torpedoes looked from their point of view. There wasn't an enemy DD that detected it before they saw it, so the reaction time that they experienced is exactly the reaction time that any battleship, cruiser, and aircraft carrier is going to have to deal with, which is 0.8 kilometers on the detection, I believe. So it's way better than any other torpedo. Good speed, great detection, you know, really good damage per torpedo. It's very clear to me, if you can balance this particular Pan-Asian destroyer line and gun down the DDs, take them out of the fight, use your torpedoes, you will do a lot of damage. A lot of damage. Now, if it gets into a situation where there's 4, 5, 6 DDs on a side, I think they really drop off in their effectiveness because you can't torpedo smoke. And no matter how good you are, you're still dealing with probably a 1 versus 2 scenario. And you're going to lose that. So, enemy Yamato is pushing forward. I lead him, expecting him to gain a little speed. You know, maybe I should have let him a little bit more, but we'll see, we'll see. These are 2 5 torpedo launchers, which is so much better than the Kid. The Kid, you know, the Kid, for everything that's good about the Kid, those torpedoes are so bad. And I'm cycling between the torpedoes, which is C. Z, or Z, is to zoom in on the shell torpedo. And then C cycles. And we hit 2. Causes a flood. I don't know if his damage control is up, but he is flooding. Okay, it looks like it probably just literally just came up. Or he was a little delayed on it. And he's trying to heal. Sorry about that freeze. I don't know why it did that. But target's dead. And now we're going back to B. Game's working out pretty good. And I'm really enjoying this ship. Obviously the guns, very familiar. Gearing guns, Fletcher guns, Benson guns. High arc, very difficult to exploit long range. So there's really no point to getting advanced firing training. Or the extended range mod that is available on the tier 9 and 10. It just, good luck hitting that. However, having your torpedoes up all the time, especially in a world where there's a lot of battleships, they do a lot of damage, and they're really hard to see. I believe if a battleship wants to avoid them, he pretty much has to commit to target acquisition, that skill or that module that you decide to take over concealment, and vigilance. It's just going to be really difficult to pick up on these guys. Or, conversely, you could have the support of a destroyer who could spot it easily. But let's face it, that's not going to happen in random battle. You're lucky if you even have a single DD that's playing the objective, let alone a DD that is conveniently placed to protect you from incoming torpedoes. I mean, come on, come on. However, this is probably the perfect game for this build. Couldn't have been better. There's no aircraft carriers. There's no radar except for the 2 Missouris. If there was a cruiser, or maybe even a Pan-Asian destroyer, oh hell yeah, they would crush me. Keep me spotted, no smoke, I have to run to the friendly, or use the island to block line of sight, and still be spotted by the aircraft. I couldn't believe my luck. So if you're looking at this game and going, holy crap, this is so broken, this is your first game in the ship, you don't even know what build to do, listen, DDs are my main. I like to believe that I'm pretty good at DDs, above average. I know what the weakness is. I know what the strength is. I'm not going to do something stupid. So understand that, yeah, sure, the tools that it has are fantastic. The Deepwater torpedoes will probably be the most effective torpedoes at killing battleships. I'm not sure about cruisers. I think cruisers are just as nimble as they've always been. But absolutely battleships, you will take a lot of damage to Deepwater torpedoes because they're designed to kill you. And if you understand that, you're going to succeed. If you understand that I don't have smoke, I've got to be careful. You're going to succeed. If you get lucky, you're going to have more chances to succeed. I used the last of my radar to try and get a little bit of damage on the enemy DD, maybe kill him. And obviously he survived. I'm pretty low, and quite frankly, I don't trust the players on the western flank to support me based on the way they've chatted. In fact, I think they want to bait me into death, and that's their whole goal. So I'm not going to rely on them. I'm not going to do something that relies on these 3 to provide anything for my success. Is that the right way to approach it? Well, it's kind of the way I drive too. I don't rely on other drivers to do their job. I try and minimize the impact others have on me by getting distance or avoiding, characters that they're probably drunk or high or whatever, right? You know the type. So that's my word of advice. If you have someone who's harassing you in the game or just commenting about how much they dislike you, it's probably a good idea to assume that they dislike you and to treat them as neutral, not as a teammate. Now, obviously, if they're on the enemy team, kill them all. But it's in good fun. So we're going to capture A point. I do want to work on the enemy DD if I can. Get back here. But overall, this game's over. This is a lock. We won the game, contributed a huge amount. Base capture, assisted capture. We killed some targets. We detected them. I don't know how radar works from a XP standpoint, but come on. We were the target that forced that Neptune out of his hiding area. I almost died to the Shima, I think, if he would have fired his guns versus relied on his torpedoes. But you know what? Maybe he just didn't think. And glad he didn't, because we were able to survive and continue doing damage to the enemy. So overall, this was quite literally my first game in this ship. I haven't tried the smoke. I would like to try the smoke build. But the build feels completely familiar. It feels exactly like a gearing. In a lot of respects, you can't use defensive fire. That is one downside. And it can't have its torpedoes affect the DDs at all. But it has the same loadout, the same sort of turret traverse, same gun arc, 127mm guns, about the same reload for the torpedoes, even though they are deep water. It's pretty familiar. It's got the same sort of proportions that you would expect. Compare it to a gearing. And I love the gearing, so of course I'm going to love this ship. I hope you enjoyed seeing the Yue Yang. We got 7 torpedo hits, 139,000 damage, 2,500 base XP. Not bad. And a little bit of gun, a little bit of torpedo, flood fire, whatever it took, that's what we got. I will probably be posting more first impressions of Pan-Asian destroyers this week, but it is Thanksgiving week, so might not be much more than that. Have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you next time.